During a traditional Passover meal, Jewish families take time to discuss the Exodus story. But I want to celebrate a new Passover, one that recognizes Jesus as our Passover lamb. The story I want to tell you is a version of the passion story of Jesus' death on the cross. During the time of Jesus, it was customary for Jews to pilgrimage from Jerusalem for observance of the Passover. When they arrived, it was often the case that they were in need of supplies needed for the Passover meal. This would include a lamb to be slaughtered for the meal. To facilitate this need, markets were set up in the courtyards of the temple where families could purchase lambs. The lambs that were sold at these markets came from one specific place, Bethlehem. In those days, the small city of Bethlehem was built around one primary economic piece. That piece was the raising of lambs to be slaughtered in Jerusalem at Passover. Each year, the lambs that were raised were brought from Bethlehem to Jerusalem and led into the city through the sheep gate, which is where the gate got its name. The lambs were taken to the temple markets and sold to pilgrims and families that did not have lambs of their own for Passover. The tradition would be that the lambs would be purchased 4 days before Passover. The lambs would then be taken into the homes of the families for 4 days. During this time, the family would take time to be sure that the lamb was worthy of Passover. It had to be healthy, not sickly, and without blemish. At the end of the 4th day, the family would bring the lamb back to the temple to be brought before the high priests. The priests would look over the lamb themselves and proclaim that the lamb was without blemish. The priests would then take the lamb from the family and kill it. The meat from the lamb would be butchered in the temple courts, and the meat would be taken home by the families to be prepared for that evening. Jesus was born, of course, in Bethlehem. 4 days before Passover, Jesus arrived in Jerusalem with the apostles. He entered the city on the back of a donkey, and he entered through the sheep gate. For 4 days, Jesus lived among the people, preaching and performing miracles. On the evening of the 4th day, Jesus was brought before Pilate. Upon observing Jesus, Pilate proclaimed to the people that were there to see him killed, "I find no fault in this man." Following his trial, on the evening where the lambs from Bethlehem were being slaughtered for Passover, Jesus himself was put to death on the cross. From learning about Passover tradition, we get a more complete understanding of why Jesus was called our Passover lamb. Jesus' journey to the cross directly mirrored that taken by the other lambs.